Hi everyone, welcome to Javaras. Let's continue our discussion on securing single page applications with Spring Security. So far we have created a front-end server which serves an Angular application, and we have created a resource server which has one endpoint. We are sharing sessions between these two servers using Redis database. Now let's see what we are going to do in this video. So in this video we are going to create a gateway server. So our UI will only talk to gateway server, and gateway server based on the URL and path will redirect the request of user to either front-end server or resource server. This is what we have created so far. We can log into the using username and password, and after that we can click on say hello button, which will call an endpoint of resource server, and then we can see the output here. Now if you go to the network, you can see in the get request is to localhost 8080, that means different origin. Let's say your app uses many servers, but you don't want your user to know the location of each server. So what you can do is you can create a gateway server, and that gateway server based on the path of request can redirect the request to different servers. So let's do that. But before that, if you have not watched the previous videos, I highly recommend you to watch them first. You can find them in this playlist. I will put the link in the description. And also you can find the code in this GitHub repository. I will put the link of this GitHub repository in the description as well. So to create a new Spring Boot project, we can go to Spring Initializer website and specify all the parameters, and we can download a zip file, or we can use ID to create the project directly if the ID supports that. I'm using IntelliJ IDEA which supports creating of Spring Boot projects, so I will use that. Now this time we need to use one dependency, which is gateway. So Spring Cloud Gateway, and we don't need any other dependency. Let's create. Okay, I don't want to open it. I will open it from here. Click on Gateway Spring Cloud, build.gradle, link Gradle project. Okay, so now I guess it will work. Let's run the gateway server. Okay, so it is started. So we can say net is started on port 8080. The responsibility of gateway server is to redirect the request to different servers based on the configuration. So let's configure that. So we'll go to src main java. So let's create a new class here, and I want to create that class inside a package called config dot, let's say, route configuration. So uh, we can say route config, and there should be a configuration. So configuration. Now here we need to create a bean of type route locator. Let's create that public route locator, and let's annotate it with bean annotation. And this method takes a route locator builder, and let's return builder dot routes dot build. But here we want to specify some routes. So let's specify the first route. So first route is for resource server. So let's say if its path is, let's say, resource, in that case we want to send the request to resource server. So what we will do is So there can be anything after resource. So we want to send the request to localhost 8082. HTTP localhost 8082. So this will be the URL. Okay, this will be string. So it should be double quote. Okay. Now let's another route for front-end server. So if the path is anything, we are assuming that there are only two servers. One is resource server and one is front-end server. So if the request is not for resource server, the request is for front-end server. So if it matches anything, so it will match the empty path as well. In that case, we want the request to go to front-end server. That means port 8081. So HTTP localhost port 8081, and that is it. So that's how we create the configuration. Now let's rerun the gateway Spring Cloud application again. And we have not specified the port for gateway server. So it will run on default port, which is 8080. It has started, and let's uh, close it and open it in open it again. Now this time instead of port 8081, I want to go to port 8080. Now we are seeing a blank page, and if you go to Gateway Spring Cloud application, we have an error. Unable to load iu.netty.resolver.dns.macOS. So this is error. So if you search for Google, you will go to this GitHub issue, and this GitHub issue mention uh, the resolution like we need to add the dependency for netty-all. So this dependency. So we need this dependency, which is from iu.netty, and the artifact is netty-all. So we can go to Gradle because we are using Gradle. Copy it and add it in the build.gradle file. So in the build.gradle file, I will add it here. Now let's restart the Gateway Spring Cloud application. Let's reload the page, and we are getting errors. So this is due to incorrect configuration. So the path should be slash and then double star. So let's rerun the gateway server and reload the page. Okay, so you can see this is working, and we are getting 401 for user endpoint because obviously we are not logged in. Now let's log in. Javarus pass, and you can see we are logged in, and we are getting session cookie and XSRF token cookie. Now let's click on say hello. Click on say hello, and we can see uh, it's not allowing because we are still sending the request to 8082. We need to change it because now we want to send the request to gateway, and gateway will send the request to resource server. So let's do that. So open app.component.ts file, and here we don't want to send any token. So first of all, the request will be, so we need to specify that the request is to resource. So resource, and all the request to this resource path will be redirected to resource server as we have configured here, that if the requests are of this, the path of request matches this pattern, then the origin of, or the destination origin of the request will change to this one. So that is it. So now we will send the request to resource endpoint, and also, okay, let's do that for now. So let's stop the front end server here and go to front end directory, click on mvnw and spring boot run. It will take some time, but it will work. Okay, so the front end server has started. Now let's open a new private window and go to localhost 8080. Okay, and we are redirected to login. So let's enter username and password. Okay, and let's click on say hello button. Now this time we are fetching the token from resource server. So you can see that here. And but we are getting 404 for uh, resource server. That is because we are sending request to here. HTTP localhost 8080 resource demo hello. Now let's copy this URL for now and go to route config. And so this is the URL where we want to send the request. And here we have specified that if the path matches this pattern and the path is matching this pattern, then replace the domain with this. So we will replace the domain with this thing. So the request will go to this endpoint. That means this is the resource server. In the resource server, it will try to find a mapping for this endpoint resource demo hello. But we don't have that. We only have demo and hello. That means we want to remove the resource from the path. So what we can do is we can use filters, and let's create a new filter. So I will say if we have a path dot, we can say rewrite path, and it will take a regular expression. So I will say resource, and I want to replace the resource with only this slash. So now this resource, this will be replaced with this, and this will become our final endpoint. So let's refresh the gateway server and click on say hello again. So click on say hello, and we are getting hello world. But if you see in the app.component.ts, first we are fetching the token from front-end server, and then we are sending this token to gateway server again. So we are fetching the token from gateway server and we are sending it back to gateway server again. So we don't want that. We don't want to fetch the token. So we can remove this from here, and we don't want to send this XAuth token. Now we want to implement the authentication using cookies in the resource server as well. So let's not send any auth token. So we can remove that functionality from app service as well. So if you go to app service, here we have fetch session ID token. So we can remove that. So now we are not using XAuth token to authorize. So let's restart the front end server. The front end server has started. So let's go to 8080 again. We are logged in because we are storing our session in Redis database. So even if we have restarted our front end server, we have not restarted the Redis database. So the session is already maintained there. Let's click on say hello, and this time we are getting 401 because we are not sending any XAuth token. And in the resource server, we have configured that we want XAuth token in the header to be present in order to authenticate. So we can see that here. If we go to resource server and source main Java configuration, security configuration. So in the security configuration, you can see we have specified that here that we want the token to be present in request header with the name XAuth token. So let's remove that. Okay, and restart the resource server. So this time resource server won't look for XAuth token request header. It will just use cookies to authenticate. So That's done. Now click on say hello. And you can see we are getting hello world back because this time we are sending cookie in order to authenticate. Now, now one thing you might notice that this time we don't have any pre-flight requests. That is because we are on origin 8080 and the requests are also going to same origin which is 8080. That means gateway server. And gateway server behind the scene is handling all these things. So the gateway server is getting the cookie from front-end server and it's sending that cookie to Angular app. It's getting the cookie from Angular app and sending it to resource server. And that is allowed because no browser is involved between front-end server, gateway server, and resource server. So from one server to another server, everything is allowed. So that's how it works. Now we can go ahead and remove the token endpoint from front-end server as well. So let's go to front-end here, and in the controller we have auth controller. In the auth controller we have token endpoint. We can remove that because we are not using it anymore. Let's recap what we did. So we created a gateway server which is responsible for redirecting the request to either front-end server or resource server based on the path. Also, gateway server is handling all the things related to cookies, so we don't need to send session ID in request header with the name X auth token. So we removed that as well, and everything is still working fine. In the next video, we will probably talk about auth 2 in the single page applications. Let's meet in the next video. If you found this video to be useful, please like the video and don't forget to subscribe. So let's meet in the next video. Bye everyone.